Hello, hello. So we're not going to make tonight a long call because it's the week of Thanksgiving, and hopefully this week we're all spending more time with our family and maybe preparing delicious meals. I know on Wednesday we have Pie Day, and it's one of my absolute favorite things to do in the Thanksgiving week because usually on Thanksgiving we're turkey and sides and watching football and prepping all the things. But pies are their own event. And I don't like adding that to Thanksgiving. And so we do Pie Day the day before, whether we're with the same people or we're with a different group of people. It's a way we can have better connection with people around us. And then we all make our favorite pies. So I know this week we're going to be doing lots of baking. But next week, we will be starting a blood sugar regulation series and dig into what happens, all of the tips and tricks and pattern behavior recognition, and all the things that can help your body function better. So it's going to be a good series. And I didn't want to do that right before this week because we're not in that mindset. We're in the mindset of eating great food. And sorry, I gotta turn the speaker down. I got my little one on the night monitor. But we're in the focus of eating great food and connecting with people, maybe spending some money for Black Friday, all the things. So we're not really focused on blood sugar this week, which is fine. That's a next week problem. But I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some peptides that I've been doing because I know we've talked about our community page and then some of whether you're a group or one-on-one clients, we've talked about peptide options, figuring out what works best for you. And there's actually kind of a lot of options for peptides. I have done tirzepatide, which is like a GLP GIP, but I wanted to come off of that. A lot of people like to do winter bulks, and you have some weight loss, and then you're working on the body comps rebuild structuring process of that. And so I was thinking of what I wanted to try this winter season to help my body. And then I've actually been already doing it. And that's why I wanted to share that with you because it's a less commonly known peptide. The names sound crazy, and I'm going to do a call with um, some other ladies, and we're going to be talking more about it. But I wanted to talk about this quick today because I've actually had a few clients in this past week being curious because they're going into a winter bulk or they're trying to improve some different aspects of their health and they wanted to know what to do. So it's called BPC 157. Crazy names. I agree. Um, it's called a crazy name. And then it's a combo with TB 500. And both of those names sound a little bit crazy, but they are peptides. It's that chain of peptides. And I wanted to talk about a couple benefits that people talk about and hear a lot in the two. BPC is more commonly known as like a healing peptide. People will use it post-surgery for improving surgical outcomes. People will inject it like into that around the surgical site. It helps with tendons and ligaments and muscle. Like it's a really powerful healing peptide. A lot of people have also talked about the gut health benefits with that specific peptide. So those are some of the more commonly known ones. And then we've got the TB500. And TB500 is actually not talked about very often, but it's a really powerful peptide. And what the TB is, it's the thymosin beta 4, and 500 is part of the code name of that. I'm not going to pretend like I understand the complete naming convention. It's like in biochem, some of the naming conventions can get a little bit complicated, and it doesn't, whether you say the name specifically correct, it doesn't change how impactful these things are. So I really love TB500. It's the one I actually started doing by itself in February that I had the massive heart health changes in all my lipid panels and heart health or heart markers in my labs. And so I wanted to talk about that specifically because a lot of people and a lot of women don't really know of a lot of ways to improve their heart health. There's, yes, dietary changes are helpful. And I never want to discredit the dietary and lifestyle. Yes, we should be exercising. We should be lifting weights. We should be doing some cardio. But it does happen where you will make those changes and your body still needs a little bit of help. And I was one of those people. And so the big changes, and I've done a couple calls talking about the numbers, but the big changes that I've had were because I did the TB. So right now I'm doing the combo, which is available through Ellie. And if you want help, I'm happy to help. And if you just want to learn more, that's what we're here for. But I'm doing the combo, and I'm going to be completely honest. It was maybe 2 days, and I noticed the big difference. And so the reason I'm bringing it up is because a lot of people will talk about like post-surgical outcomes, recovery, repair. They'll talk about the heart health benefits of TB, but the gut health benefits are really powerful and impactful. Um, and it's supporting healing, repairing that gut lining. So I know we talk a lot about having fermented foods because we're giving our body or the bacteria in our body more bacteria to do what it's supposed to do. And so we add our fermented foods and then we add our fibers, and then the gut bacteria can do what they're supposed to do. There's enough in the right ratios because that's actually really important for our gut health. And then bring in the fibers, and you need soluble and insoluble fibers. You need both. And you bring that in after you've added in the gut bacteria from low sugar fermented foods. And your body is doing what it's supposed to do with the fiber and utilizing it. And you're not going to get the constipation or bloating or gas that people get when they jack up their fiber. And then that's like the foundation of the gut health and repair. And sometimes when people have leaky gut, I know that's kind of a popularized term lately, and the true naming of its gut permeability, but we call it leaky gut. It's a pretty common term. And so that's one of the big impacts of the TB500. It's helping with that. And I know we should all know, hopefully by now, that a lot of our mental health components can come from what's happening in our gut. And a lot of people will jump to fiber again and they'll have some of those issues. So there is a path that you don't for completely for free, starting more fermented foods, then add more fiber, and then your body should be doing what it's supposed to with the tools that you've given it. If you have questions, happy to talk about those specifically and how to map that out and do it in a way that it's you're going to get the most bang for your buck. But so there's the less common known and cardiovascular protection repair. So I made a couple notes on it. It does protect our heart muscle after injury. It promotes blood vessel formation. That's called angiogenesis. It's the science name, but less dramatic science name, blood vessel formation. Reduces inflammation inside the heart and then supports and repairs the after myocardial stress or ischemia. So those are a little bit more dramatic things that are helpful with TB. But I know for me, and what happened to me was all of my lipid panels improved drastically. And then triglycerides, they're pulled on a lipid panel, but triglycerides have more to do talking about your blood sugar regulation and insulin resistance. And the big impact, because it was like a 100-point difference, my triglycerides. The big impact with that, it definitely came from the GLP. But back to the TB and BBC. They're crazy names. They really are. But I really wanted to talk about what I noticed, and truly in a 2-day difference, was the mental health and brain focus. So yes, there's a mental health component that is improved when our gut microbiome is doing what it's supposed to. But I also noticed a bigger difference when they were put as a combo as opposed to separate. And it was truly a 2-day difference where I could finally feel like I could think and function. I had energy, I had clarity, something that seems like it's been lacking for a while. I've made massive improvements in my health. I prioritize sleep, I prioritize stress management, I eat a nutrient-rich diet. But sometimes we still need a little bit of help. And I was one of those people with struggling with that. And so like truly within a 2-day, it was less than 2 days, but we're going to say 2 days because it was this first day and I thought, I cannot be feeling this good this fast. Because I didn't go into research detail about these benefits. And so I was a little bit caught off guard by how great I felt. But it can support lowering your anxiety, reducing the brain fog, helping with your chronic stress. It's really, really impactful. And what it's doing, the TB500, is it's reducing your neuroinflammation. And it also supports neurogenesis. Genesis is that same thing like angiogenesis, that's the building, that's the repair, it's the growth of new. That's kind of that genesis term. And then it can improve your mood regulation, just calming. And I have felt a lot better that way. And it's hard. I know a lot of times people have a hard time talking about mood and anxiety and mental health stuff. It's not talked about, I think, enough. There's definitely trendy things going on social media, but in the reality of what we do day to day that actually causes an impact, that's not talked about enough and very often. And I'm also a person who is resistant to trying. Um, a bunch of different mental health medications. I have a lot of concern with the side effects, a lot of concern on the second and third order effects that happens. And so I knew early on that that was an issue for me. And there are studies now supporting what we already knew is exercise really actually does make a lot bigger impact than a medication would. And not saying if you're on a medication, you should get off or any of those things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for me, I was really cautious and concerned about it. And I turned to exercise, and it's really powerful and it is helpful. Different types of exercise will help in different ways. So that's a whole different conversation. But I still have a little bit of those lingering issues. And I noticed a massive difference in the mental health and my anxiety and my mood regulation. I may notice a massive difference with that within 2 days with these combo, which is really cool. Um, and then when part of my research was reading a study that was talking about helping with trauma recovery in the brain. And a lot of women, unfortunately, have some type of trauma recovery that they're working through. So it's kind of it's a really powerful tool. But overall, I just felt calmer. I felt less wired, and I still feel that way. And I'm a month, 5 weeks in, and I feel so good. I've actually, because I'm working on that kind of winter muscle building, I've increased my calories 500 to 700 calories a day. I've gone down another 3 pounds. It happens often with thyroid stuff. You go up in calorie and then the weight drops, and that's just a little bit of a annoying, nuanced thing sometimes with thyroid issues. Um, but so there's weight loss that has occurred, which is cool, but also I just feel good and I'm able to get the things done that I need to get done. The procrastination because I was anxious about things, I'm not dealing with that. It's been really powerful, and I wanted to come on today specifically and talk about that because I've been feeling so good. And I know a couple of my clients are wanting to work on their winter building muscle phase. And this is a really great tool to add to that. And so there's the mental health component that's not talked about very often, and then the tissue oxygenation. And what cool thing about TB500 is it increases the actin regulation, and that improves our body's ability to move oxygen into the cells, to improve our muscular endurance, and then to speed up tissue regeneration. And so they're subtle. It's not like we're talking about some Morlin or growth hormone thing. It's not the same thing. It's definitely subtle, but it is powerful. So it's helping with your recovery from workouts. And then with people who have chronic fatigue or mitochondrial issues, that's what it's doing, and that's how it's helping them in those ways. And then because the TB500 has that repair aspect to it, it's also helpful with like fascial and connective tissue help. That paired with the BPC, again, they're a really powerful combo. I started off by putting my brother, who has a lot of old sports injuries, and then my husband, who has a lot of old military injuries. I started by putting them on BPC. I wanted to, or the combo. I wanted to see how they would feel, how they would respond. My brother is able to work out when he wasn't because his injuries were so painful before. He's just reordered for his next 2 month set, and because he feels so good, and he's having a big change in his gut health, but he just feels so good that the pain management issues that he was having before, he's not having anymore. And it's the same for me if we're talking about like workout and recovery and running. I've been running a few times a week and not having any joint pain, and I was having chronic joint pain before. So it's really powerful. I'm loving it. I really am. But I wanted to share that. And then there's a lung and airway support, just that reducing the inflammation component. There's some immune modulation on it. It helps regulate the overactive immune response. So that's kind of like an autoimmune is what we're talking about. It's decreasing inflammatory cytokines. It's promoting that balance and healing. Instead of punishing the immune system, it's helping support and balance that. A lot of people, when they say I'm enhancing your immune system, um, It's not always the best thing, and it's definitely a like marketing term that people will say, but with your immune system, you want to have that balance. You don't want an overactive, crazy enhanced immune system because that's autoimmune disease. And then you don't want an underactive, non-responsive immune system because that's also immunocompromised. So it's promoting that balance and finding that healthy in between for people. And then we've talked about the heart health. I love the heart health component. I was so happy at seeing because it's great to talk about how we feel, but I love that objective data. And it was great seeing that objective data from my heart health stuff. And we've talked about the gut health and the gut lining and the leaky gut, common term that's used for, I'm using that term because people know of it. And sometimes the more correct scientific terms people don't know. So bridging that gap can be just take unnecessary explanation that some people don't really want. Um, but in that, it's improving that epithelial lining, it's tightening those gap junctions. That's what people say when they have the leaky gut, the gap junctions aren't as tight. And then it's again decreasing inflammation, and that's inflammation in that mucosal barrier and our gut microbiome. So chronic bloating, IBS type symptoms, post antibiotic healing. Those are situations where that would be helpful. And then that stress recovery and resiliency. So those are all improving of those, of course, resiliency improving and stress recovery. But those are all the like less common, less talked about benefits of TB 500. It's really powerful. And then BPC, we've talked about that a little bit. There's a lot of really powerful supportive things. So they synergistically work really well together. But I didn't want this call to be long tonight. So if you have questions, I'm happy to help. I've been loving it. I feel so good, so good. Um, I've just been talking a lot today. I don't have water, so I'm like talking quiet. Anywho, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And then if you have questions, I'm happy to help. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. And I hope you guys eat all of the yummy food and have wonderful connection with your families.